In Season 1, Episode 2, Agnes visits Dr. Grove, Gilead's dentist and the father of her best friend, Becca, Matea Conforti. What begins as a routine appointment quickly turns unsettling. As he places the protective bib for her x-rays, he makes an inappropriate comment about her body, and his fingers graze her breasts as he adjusts it. By Episode 4, that unease deepens. During a tea party, Agnes chips her tooth on a porcelain bride figurine baked into a cake, a symbol tied to the tradition that whichever girl finds it will be the next to marry. The moment forces her back into Dr. Grove's care. At the appointment, Dr. Grove places Agnes under light anesthesia. Once she's unconscious, he removes his coat. Later, at home, Agnes notices something is wrong. The undergarment she had carefully tied earlier is now undone in several places. The implication is chilling, suggesting that Agnes may have been sexually assaulted while she was unconscious, a realization that marks a devastating turning point in her understanding of Gilead's dangers. The Teastament returns with some interesting through-lines for subplots that are starting to bubble up. It's clear that Agnes has been abused by that disgusting doctor, but it's put Agnes in a difficult spot too. She can't say anything obviously, as we know she needs 4 witnesses to combat the commander. But even then, it would make Agnes damaged goods and certainly not marriage potential. Even worse, that's her best friend's dad too. In the book, this scene is slightly different and a lot more graphic, and I'm glad the creators had the wherewithal not to go all euphoria on us and revel in the shock factor, instead leaving it to our imaginations. Daisy clearly knows something isn't right here, but she's similarly not in much of a position to do anything. In fact, she's lucky she hasn't been caught already. Given she's supposed to be a rebel, she's so damn loud while talking to Garth. Not just at the party, but also in the waiting room at the dentist. Sound carries, especially in a quiet hallway like that, and who knows who may have heard them. Interestingly, though, we also have a bit of a power play between Aunt Lydia and Vidala. It's clear Vidala wants to instigate change, hating the Pearl program, and also showing disdain toward the archaic values Gilead has. However, it was pretty funny when Lydia shut her down and exasperated for the girls to eat cake. Paula is a bit of a mixed bag here too. On the one hand, she clearly shows disdain toward Agnes, and her outburst could either be racially motivated or simply toward the weakness of June leading Mayday out of Gilead. Paula's cunning display to trip Miriam is also her way of helping Agnes find a good husband too, eliminating the competition. It's clear all the wives are equally as pressured, despite Daisy believing Paula is the most safe. Beyond all this though, the most frustrating part is Mayday. After all this time, and even with the government's backing, they're still super incompetent. They seem to have all these agents in place, but not the manpower or the cleverness to strike at the heart of Gilead. And resting their entire plan on one 15-year-old girl? Yeah, that's a tall ask. Overall though, this was a pretty decent episode, and the ending, with the radio broadcast cutting out, sets everything up beautifully for next week's chapter. Daisy voiceovers that she later learned that the florist from the start of the episode tried to run when the eyes visited the shop. The woman was shot dead in the street. The teen sees the incident as a lesson to keep her wits about her, because panicking will get her killed. It's hard to maintain one's composure, though, when an urgent warning on that night's Radio Free Boston gets interrupted by a high-pitched tone before the broadcast cuts off. In the bathroom, Daisy cries into a towel, so no one will hear her. At the Mackenzie house, Agnes starts to undress for bed, shedding the multiple layers girls are made to wear. When she gets down to her shirt, she sees that it was sloppily relaced, proving that Dr. Grove put his hands under her clothing while she was sedated. Yes, he absolutely inappropriately touched her as he was putting the X-ray apron on earlier this season. But she likely explained that away as her imagination or her misinterpretation of events, or some other Gilead useful compartmentalizing. As Agnes stares at her askew laces, this new violation registers and she freaks out. By episode 4, the weight of Daisy's mission in Gilead is becoming impossible to ignore. After 4 more Mayday members are brutally killed, the reality of her situation sets in. She tells Garth, Agnes' guardian and a fellow operative, that she wants out, but he refuses, insisting her role is too important to walk away from. As the day winds down, Daisy retreats to the bathroom at the Aunt Lydia school, clinging to the one thing that connects her to the outside world, her radio. It's her lifeline to Mayday, and her only source of direction. You're listening to Radio Free Boston with an urgent warning for is all Daisy hears before the transmission abruptly cuts off, replaced by a dead signal. With no guidance and no way to reach the resistance, the realization hits. She may be completely on her own. Overwhelmed with fear, Daisy begins to cry uncontrollably. Back in the dining room, it's time to serve the commander's cake. Think a Mardi Gras king cake, only instead of a little plastic baby Jesus baked into the pastry, there's a tiny ceramic bride. The girl who gets the piece with the bride in it is supposed to be lucky or less damned than the others or something. I admit, I stopped paying a little bit of attention to detail when Agnes bites into her piece, crunching down on the ceramic bride, and promptly cracks a tooth. Becca's mother immediately says not to worry, because her husband can fix Agnes' smile right away. Worry, Agnes. At Dr. Grove's office, Becca's father sedates Agnes, then closes the door separating him and Agnes from Daisy in the waiting room. One of the last things Agnes sees before she goes under is the dentist, removing his white coat. When she comes to, he's washing his hands and bidding her a good day. While Daisy and Garth are alone in the waiting room, she gives him the chocolate Mackenzie gave her. Japan has sanctions against Gilead, Garth says, puzzled. What was he doing there? She doesn't know that, but she does know this. Agnes is in love with him. Nice work letting that happen, she says. Later, Agnes quickly shuts down the conversation when Daisy asks about her birth mother. All Agnes will say is that both her biological mom and Tabitha Mackenzie are dead.